Good morning, everyone. I'm Laurent. I'm a security consultant at KYOS, and today with REGDATA, we're going to talk about application data protection. I don't think I really need to stress why data protection is important, but there are several ways to tackle the problem. It's a fairly intricate subject, so you could approach it at a lower level and encrypt entire disk, database, or folder, or you could approach it from a higher level and selectively protect the sensitive pieces of information of your application. And RegData does the latter. So this approach of protecting application data has many advantages. So you can pick what data is protected and how, and also it keeps data secure throughout its life cycle, both at rest and in transit. Um, RegData is also a very flexible platform. So when I talk about protecting the data, it goes beyond just encryption, as we will see. Various protection methods are supported, anonymization, tokenization, and more to to make the data look real, even though it's not and thus protected. Um, RegData is also flexible in the way it can be deployed. So either with a proxy or integrating into your application with libraries available in multiple languages that we'll call the RegData API. So some are these are some of the reasons why we're very pleased with this partnership with RegData at KYOS, as it really complements and integrates with our portfolio of security solutions very nicely. And with that, I will leave the floor to RegData and more specifically to Gilles, who's the CTO of RegData. And after that, we will have customer testimony and a Q&A session at the end. So, Gilles, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just a quick question. Kilian, do you want to share or will I share directly? I think it's easier if I share directly.
Yeah, I think it's easier if it's you.
Okay, let me do that. Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending to this session. So I'm going to present you our solution. I'm going to do that in 2 steps for high-level presentation of the platform, what we do, what are the protection techniques that we do support and why, what are the different integration patterns. And then I will run a quick demo on how we can protect an application holding sensitive data. And I'm going to show you how we can define what are the sensitive data we want to protect, how we set the protection up, and then you see live how the data have been protected into this application. So I'm going to share my screen. So you should see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So RegData is an enterprise platform in the sense that our objective is to protect your sensitive data across all your application landscape. So all the applications that are supposed to use this data and across all your business needs, in the sense that not only you're using some sensitive data within your application landscape, but also you are using this data, you are sharing this data with third parties, you're importing data with third party. And the idea of RegData is to be able to manage this data across all the business needs and across all the applications that do use this data, and to make it consistent across your application landscape. We use it as a platform which provides you all the ability to set up a protection, define the sensitive data, what they are, in what applications, and how you want them to be protected. We do provide compliance services as well, in the sense that we provide proofs that you have a sound protection of your data, and this proof can be generated into reports. And this report can be used for compliance or regulatory reporting. I'm going to describe them a bit more later in the presentation. And one of the big benefits of this approach is that you can value your data even more, in the sense that since your sensitive data are now being protected, you're in a position to use them for operation you could not do before. You're in position to outsource the data. You're in position to leverage more solution like cloud-based solution or analytics, things you could not just do before. So the aim of this platform is to provide you with all of these benefits. We are currently embedded into existing solutions, and we also, because of the integration we have we have the ability to integrate in many different applications, and we are going to tell you we are ready to be integrated in, because this is something we have already proven. So at the moment we are fully embedded into Temenos application, which is number one worldwide banking software to be able to protect the sensitive data into the core banking platform. For this, we do protect Temenos Transact, their anti-money laundering tool, and their internet banking solution. We are also embedded to Wealth Dynamics, which is a CRM and a client lifecycle management system. We are fully embedded to Tessie. Tessie is a French business process outsourcer that do provide document management for banks or insurances. And the documents and the sensitive data that this bank or insurance company do outsource to Tessie are encrypted with the REGDATA solution. We have also tested and validated our solution against a number of market solutions like Power BI, Snowflake, EY First. We have Swisscom product like the Swisscom document management product, Invest Cloud, which is a CRM and portfolio management solutions. And for all what we call integration pattern ready solution, we have been working with these companies, we have protected their data, and we can ensure that using RegData, you can adopt this solution by being fully protected. In order to do so, we have a platform, and this platform will be deployed mostly in the customer or in our client premises. And this is where all the protection happens. And to make sure that when your data are being used through this platform, they are going to be secured, and your use of the application is secure. So the platform is made of different type of components. We've got the core components. The core components are the engine. The engine is the server that does all the protection of your sensitive data. And we do support encryption, tokenization, pseudonymization, and anonymization of the data. At the moment, we have about 120 different protection techniques that are available. And these techniques go through standard AES protection or standard data substitution to customized one that are specific to a business need, like how do you tokenize an IBAN? How do you anonymize an IBAN? How do you encrypt a credit card? How do you tokenize the data? Or do you tokenize a credit card number, for example? So all of this is available for your use into the engine library, and the engine is the server that has the power to do the protection. To be able to do this protection, the engine relies on the configuration, and this is the RPS core configuration module. This is into this module, or with this module, that you do define what are the applications you want to protect, what are the sensitive data you want to protect within this application, what are the protection techniques do you want to apply. I want to anonymize this, I want to encrypt this. And something that is very, would say, more unique to us is what is the context of use of this data, in the sense that we can apply multiple protection techniques to the same data depending on the context of use. So, for example, if you take a banking application with a CRM system, we can say, I want to encrypt the data in the database, and the data will be decrypted for the relationship managers. But the same relationship manager traveling outside of the country, he can't see the data in clear anymore. And in this case, the same user in a different context, which is traveling, will get the same data anonymized. And this is done thanks to the core configuration platform, which defines what data can be protected, what way, in what context. All of that is secured with RPS identity, which you see on the right, which is an OAuth2 based authentication mechanism, making sure that all the requests to protecting or deprotecting data are authenticated and secure. One key component as well that you will see on the right is RPS report services, is linked to the engine. And I mentioned the fact that we have compliance and regulatory report. Every time the engine does a protection or a non-protection of the data, it records this action to the RPS report service. So with that, you're in a position to know exactly what have happened to your sensitive data, when they have been protected, when they have been unprotected, by who, at what time, and why it has been unprotected. So we can say we did unprotect the customer name for this user because he was granted access, but we did anonymize this data that time for this other user because it's an IT support guy. So you got a trace of all the actions that have been taken. You can prove that you have a sound protection and sound behavior in the protection of your data. And you also have all the consumption of your sensitive data in your application. And based on that, we can build static reports and dynamic reports. The static report provide what's the state of the protection, what data are protected, what way and when. And the dynamic reports tell you the story. When was it protected or unprotected, and by whom or for what reason? This is the core. So this is how the platform behaves. The platform never accesses your sensitive data directly. What we do is we capture the data in their use. So be it in a traffic or be it by reading a database or something like this. And for that, we need to feed the engine with this data. And we feed the engine with the integration components that you see on the top. So these components are the components or agents that we put into your application landscape, and we make it as transparent as possible, that we put in your landscape to intercept your sensitive data and then call the platform to get the data protected. For example, one of the most common use we have is with an integration pattern called the proxy, which is widely used in microservices architecture or web service oriented architecture. What we do with proxy is that we do intercept the call to the services using sensitive data, and we protect the data before they reach the backend. So the proxy captures the data, calls the engine to get the data protected. The engine protects the data according to a configuration, records this protection to the report services, and returns the protected data to the proxy. And the proxy sends the protecting data to the backend. On the other way around, and this is something we do, for example, with the Climi CRM in the cloud, when you call your CRM system in the cloud, the data comes back protected because we have encrypted or tokenized the data before. The proxy intercepts the response, and if the user is granted access to the data in clear, we unprotect the data, and the end user sees the data in clear. So that's one technique. We also use APIs, or you can use APIs. So if the proxy is totally transparent and has no impact at all on your applications, with the API, you decide to call REGDATA when needed. So you know that in your application, you are going to store the data in the database. You want this data to be protected. You call the engine with the APIs, and we will protect the data for you. We have a set of products related to database management. So we've got tools like files processor, data processor, they take data source in input. This data source could be flat files like CSV, JSON, XML files, or TXT files, or it can be database data source. We read the sensitive data. So we read the sensitive data in the files or in the tag in the tables. We protect them, and we return you with a data source that has now been protected. So if it's a database, it means that the sensitive fields of the sensitive tables have now been protected, whatever the protection is: encryption, tokenization, anonymization. And the files, like CSV files, their content is now protected as well. And we have also a set of libraries to manage emails, files, anything of component. And we have a library of integration pattern that we can use in your application landscape to reuse the capability to intercept the data, and we can customize them for your application to make sure that we take into account all that is specific to your needs. And at the bottom, we have control and monitoring of the platform, so that you know real time that all the services are up and running, that they are ready to use. And we also have a real-time performance, how many records have been protected in the last hour, how long did it take to do that. We'll have access also to all the logs, making sure everything works fine. So it's a complete platform that we deploy to your environment, to your premises, or to your private cloud, or to one of your tenants in the cloud. And this platform becomes the core for your data protection. And we will guarantee you that we have a consistent protection across all of your applications that are accessing the platform. We have a management console that I will demonstrate into the demo, where you can define what are the data you want to protect. Everything is done via this interface. This interface is being used by your admin team. So it could be ITsec ops defining the protections, and or compliance people reviewing them, but you have access to all of this, and you can see you can define this. I'm going to show you with the concrete keys. We support external key management system. This is what you see on the right. What we have in our system, we manage the relation to the keys. What keys is being used to protect what data, but the storage of the key is outside of the platform, and it could be an HSM, a KMS system like CipherTrust Manager on top of an HSM. It could be Azure Key Vault, Amazon Secret Manager, or if you don't have any tool at all, we also have a secure and encrypted solution based on a database. So it means that when we install the application, the platform into your environment, we can connect the platform to your key management system. It's up to you to manage the keys, and they are stored separately from the platform. This is an example of use on how we do protect data stored in Microsoft Dynamics CRM, for example. The action starts when a user, so number one, when a user tries to create or update data in Microsoft Dynamics in the cloud. The calls sent to Microsoft Dynamics in the cloud are being intercepted by our proxy. So it's number two. What the proxy does is call the engine and tells the engine, I have intercepted this API, I have found this name, this email address, this date into the API, please protect it. The engine protects the data, which means in the item 2, what the proxy sends to Dynamics CRM, these are the protected data, not the data in clear. With our solution, Dynamics CRM never gets the data in clear. Your sensitive data are only in clear into your environment, never in the Azure environment or never in the Microsoft environment. So Microsoft Dynamics, number 3, receive the data in clear and store them directly to its database. So if you see item 5, you see that we have a color red or pink, meaning encrypted or tokenized. The data are stored in the cloud, in Azure, they are stored encrypted, and they can never be decrypted by Microsoft because the encryption key and the protection technique that has been used in your environment by the RPS proxy. Now the data comes back from the database to Microsoft's CRM. What comes back from the database are encrypted data, and Dynamics is going to return you encrypted data, which means that in the SSL tunnel you have between yourself and Microsoft Dynamics, not only you benefit from the SSL encryption, but the data that are being transported between you and Dynamics CRM are also encrypted. So in a way, you benefit from a double encryption. And when the proxy receives a response back, it checks if the user is authorized to see the data in clear. And if the user is authorized to see the data in clear, we will decrypt and detokenize the data. So the end user, number 8, will see the data in clear. This is the green icon you see on the screen. So we have an end-to-end protection of the data, and we can ensure that our sensitive data are only managed in clear into your environment. Everything that goes out to your sensible zone goes out protected, comes back protected, and they are unprotected and in clear only in your zone. This is an example we have in the pharma sector where we have patients sending data to the pharma industry. And we have an application managing the patient and the contact data, which are highly sensitive. And you can see that the data, they all goes through the proxy, like in the example before, and they are being stored encrypted in the database. And the only people who can see the data in clear are the doctors, the patients, and their contact, because they go through the proxy to get the data decrypted. While a database administrator, and now we are in Azure, database administrator, when accessing the data, it just sees encrypted data. This is an example of the report we do provide, and this one gives you the consumption of the data, sensitive data from a user named Richard based on the Geneva office using the CRM application. And this is a summary of all the different cases that have been managed by the platform. And it tells you when the data have been returned anonymized to the user and when the data have been returned in clear to the user. And by using such a report, you can prove that the use of the data is sound, and you can prove when and protection have happened and why. And you can do post-analysis to see that suddenly there is more queries than before from this user when he was at this location, and this can be not normal, and you can take actions. That could be for taking actions and having security measure, but also just to provide a proof of the sound protection of your data. So I'm going to show you an example to make it real. I have this Postgre database into which I have stored passenger data. so basically for airline or travel agency company. And that's quite simple. I'm protecting the first name, the last name, the birth date, PNR. This is a flight information related to the passenger, and specific data like there is something that must be noted about the user. We've got different type of techniques here. We've got the first name, the last name, and the PNR reference that have been tokenized. The birth date is a tokenized date. You see the dates are anytime into 2363 year, for example, and the specific data have been encrypted using AES probabilistic encryption. So this is what your database would look like when protected by REGDATA, what it would look like in the cloud if you had chosen a cloud-based solution. I have configured the platform to be able to cope with this need. So what we do in the platform, we define what are the data we want to protect. So this example is pretty straightforward. It's exactly one-to-one with what we in the table, but doesn't need to be one-to-one. What we define here is the data we want to protect. So should you have thousands of data or columns in your database, but you want to protect only 50 of them, you will define the 50 of them here in this. So here I have said for a passenger, I want to protect the name, the specific data, the PNR reference, and the birth dates. And I have defined a set of transformation that I want to apply this. So for example, you see here for the specific data, I'm going to do the iOS probabilistic encryption and iOS probabilistic decryption when I want to unprotect them. But you see, I have date tokenization as well, and I have some anonymization technique like anonymizing the numbers or anonymizing the names, anonymized first name. And in the console, you can have access to the protection. What we say here is, I want to apply a probabilistic substitution of the data. I want to use a substitution dictionary that is called names, and I want to apply this to the field prénom. And we can do that for any of the data we have, like I want, where is my encryption? Encryption is here. I want to apply AES probabilistic encryption with this encryption key and base 64 encoding, for example. In the library, we've got more than 100 techniques, as I said before, that you can choose here by selecting what you want. So I want to protect the date. It could be date anonymization, date variance, date tokenization, for example. I want to protect an IBAN. This is the techniques we've got for IBANs. I want something probabilistic. This is probabilistic number scrambling, probabilistic encryption, probabilistic substitution. So you have access to this library of components that are ready to use to protect your data into your system. And then you define the context. So here for travel, airline, or agencies, I have different type of accesses. I have the business accesses, which are for the travel agencies and the airlines. They can transform data. They can have access to the data. While a support employee, which is somebody which role is IT support will never have access to the birth date nor to the specific data. He can read a credit card as it is protected in the database. No transformation. It means he will never be in a position to decrypt them. And he will transform the name and the reference. And if you take a compliance officer, he will be able to transform everything but the specific data and the credit card, but he will read. Here you see he reads the data. So he reads as they are in the database. If they are encrypted or tokenized in the database, he will read the tokenized data, while an IT support guy will never get access to this data at all, even not to the encrypted data. You see that can transform some information. Transform doesn't mean you have a right to see the data in clear. Transform means RegData will apply a transformation to the data. And sometimes the transformation will be decrypting the data, but sometimes it will be anonymizing them. And we defined all the behavior here. And what you see here is when, for example, you want to unprotect the data as a business access employee, like travel agency or airline, we will unprotect the name. But if you are an IT people, IT operation, when you want to access the name, RegData will anonymize the last name. And this is what we meant by transformation. So transformation doesn't mean see the data in clear, means we are going to transform them. And here we define what the transformation is. So for him, it's decrypting the data. For him, it is anonymizing the data. And thanks to that, we can match the protection to your specific needs, to your behavior. We will decrypt the data only if necessary, and we will anonymize it if the user can see it in clear as well. So we have very specific need, and all of that is a matter of configuration. Now I have a travel application that I can use to read this information. So if I click on this link, I'm showing you the difference of accesses between different roles. On the left here, I see what the travel agency sees or an airline sees. And you see these are the data in clear. So they have all been detokenized or decrypted. While on the right side, you see what an IT support employee sees when accessing exactly the same data. And you see this data, they all have been anonymized. So if I refresh the screen, so for example, here I have Canarelli something. Now it's Saulnier, which is replaced by another name. And so this is pure anonymization of the data on the right. This one is probabilistic. So next time I anonymize it, I have something very different. And this is what is in the database. Database admin. These are the data. Tokenized data. They are all tokenized data. And if we want to compare that, I can switch to this screen where I'm querying the data as an airline employee. And you see that as an airline employee, I've got access to all the data in clear. And these data have been sorted by last name and first name. If I am a travel agency employee, I have exactly the same right. I see everything in clear. But if I am a compliance employee, when I'm accessing this data, you see that I can read the last name, the first name, and the birth date in clear, but I can't read the specific data. And this is a read access, so I see the data as they are in the database. If I am an IT support employee, I have no access to the birth date, I have no access to the specific data, and what is being returned as a last name, first name, or PNR reference is anonymized data. So you see Denis Bernard, Mink. If I refresh this, I don't have Denis Bernard at all. It's a different name. It's pure anonymization. But this to say that we have the data being encrypted at rest in your database, and then we provide dynamic masking or dynamic behavior so that only the user who are granted access to see the data in clear will get the data decrypted, and other user will either see the data as they are in the database, like field specific data for the compliance employee, or see anonymized data like for IT support employee. And last thing I want to demonstrate is we have, as part of the offer, we also have the ability to provide you with searchable encryption for fields that need to be searched in the database. So in this example, I have applied this to the first name and the last name. So this is the list of data I have in this database. I want to start all the ones started by Du. I've got this. I'm not interested in the Dupont because I'm a Ducret, so I start searching Duc. And then I've got all of these. Same, for example, I want Smith. This is all the one started with Smith. I want only the Smith. And this is the result I get. So what I demonstrated with this application is the ability to protect the data at rest, the contextual data protection. You get a different behavior depending on the context of use, plus the ability to search data in the database as before, even if the data have been protected. And I think I'm done. I had 40 minutes. I'm just in time. So
It was perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jill. So next on the agenda is a customer testimony with Florian from Mirabeau, who kindly agreed to talk a bit about their experience with REGDATA. So Florian.
Thank you. You can hear me well? Yeah?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, everybody. So I'm Florian. I'm Florian Gouin. I'm working at the Mirabeau Private Bank as enterprise data architect. And the RegData team and KYOS asked me to give you a bit of a piece of the story that we're experiencing with RegData, and that would hopefully give you would say more in real life context on top of the demo that Gilles just shown. So I'm very pleased for that. So first off, a bit of context. So we are Mirabeau. We are, as some of you may know, kind of a old bank, 200 years old, and I think 2 to 3 years ago started the reflections of the thinking process on how can we modernize our core banking system to embrace digitization, and how can we modernize ourselves. So obviously we started to look at every possibilities, and one of the most I would say evident move was to adopt cloud. And to revamp more than our core banking system, but obviously our CRM system and other key components of our IT landscape. So where we ended up is to rebuild nearly everything. We're nearly, I would say, rebuilding a new bank. And in the meantime, when I say new bank, is not only IT, but it's also optimizing our processes just to make sure that we are shifting appropriately and we are future proof. So we decided to adopt a cloud first strategy, so that we could benefit the security infrastructure and the protections that cloud provider are in positions to deliver, which is something that we could never afford, and also to benefit, I would say, existing and upcoming future-proof capabilities to support our business. And we ended up, everything is public in what I'm saying, so we ended up in partnering with key vendors, and go even further than just saying we have a cloud first strategy. We even actually had a kind of a SaaS first or SaaS oriented strategy. So we partner with SaaS vendor Climby for the CRM. We partner with a cloud vendor, core banking on cloud Temenos, and obviously we adopted Microsoft Azure technologies. And the reason we managed to do this is thanks to RegData. Obviously, as I said, we are a bank that's a bit old. We are very conservative. We, as any Swiss private bank, are very how can I say, sensitive about the confidentiality and the privacy of our customers. So in short, we wanted to make sure that, yes, we want to adopt and benefit all of these new capabilities and security security and protections from cloud vendor. But on the other hand, we don't want to compromise about confidentiality and privacy. And indeed, REGDATA came into the picture of our RT landscape. As Gilles demonstrated, it's actually the icing on the cake, or it's the extra security measure that we apply that helps hold the bank employee from top to down to sleep better at night. The reason is because REGDATA give us the confidence that whatever happens on our data in hosted in SaaS vendor or cloud provider, there is no means that anybody can actually retrieve the most sensitive information, meaning typically the identity of our customers and all their sensitive data. And this happens through the tokenization that explained Gilles. So that was part of the I mean, that was the key element that helps us to move forward and change our paradigm. This is all about the decision-making process and how we actually get into introducing REGDATA to support our ambition without compromising on security and data protection. So where we positioned REGDATA. Indeed, our CRM KYOS solution is where we do capture most of our client identifying data. So this is the key entry point where REGDATA intercepts the information that is exposed in the front end of the end user and tokenize or detokenize, as Gilles explained, in context. So that works very well, to be honest. It's in production since, I think, 5 months for our Swiss customer data. So yeah, that's been proven to be very efficient. So again, what it gives us as a benefit is we secure and we are sure that the information that is stored in the database of our SaaS vendor is I mean, it's not encrypted, it's tokenized. That means that even though they have the best quantum computer, I mean, nobody can reverse this information. We are the only one who know what is the equivalent value in clear of that particular token that is stored on the database of our SaaS vendor. But in the meantime, it gives the full flexibility for our business end user to use a CRM like any other CRM where the data is stored in clear. So this is really having, I mean, the best of the two sides, the best on security and the best on the protection and the best on the business and user experience. So now we're also, as also Gilles mentioned it, we are deploying the Temenos core banking system. In the way we approached it is obviously we minimize the data that and especially the CID data that we ingest, I would say, in the core banking system. So most of our processes have been segregated, business processes or operational processes have been segregated to make sure that I would say the processes requiring client identifying data, I would say, are more focused on the CRM side, and the one that are purely operational are not leveraging or using tokenized data. Even though I think now with the maturity of the solution and the partnership between REGDATA and Temenos, it's certainly very easy to address. So today, the way in Mirabeau we use REGDATA for core banking is mostly for the payment processing. So we do tokenize the IBAN. So as I said, we are very conservative. So it's not only first name, last name, and the obvious direct client identifying data. There is very very large amount of client identifying data, even potential one that that we decided to tokenize just to be 100% secure and make sure that and there is no way that our cloud provider or SaaS vendor access or can derive information about our customer. So we do tokenize IBAN. So as Gilles said, it's been something that we've discussed and put together. It was one of the challenge we had, to be honest, because obviously the IBAN is not just a string. It has to respect certain criteria depending on the country and so on. And what REGDATA gives us is the ability to tokenize the IBAN of our customer while making sure that this IBAN is still compliant with the I would say the verification that's happening in our core banking system. And so obviously when we fire the payment out, well, the data is detokenized and goes in the payment gateway. But when we receive an IBAN, actually, REGDATA do tokenize the payment that we receive for the beneficiary, and this gives us the ability to match the IBAN that on the and to credit the appropriate account. So again, we do have security. I would say very high level standards, but in the meantime, we're still able to do STP on payment. So again, REGDATA gives the ability to be comfortable on the two sides, and no compromises on security and no compromises on our business process efficiency. We do also detokenize data, and we have the needs for that, especially for client statement production, also for regulatory report production. So for this as well, the REGDATA solution has been integrated, and making sure that the document that's generated for the print shop or to be published on the internet banking is tokenized, detokenized appropriately. And the latest things that we have or that we decided to implement is the operational reporting for Power BI. So we do have what we call a data hub that gives us the ability to centralize all of the data that we have in our operational system. Everything is on the cloud, on the Azure cloud, to benefit the advanced analytics capabilities. All the data are tokenized in there, and we do consume data through Power BI, for instance. We do export data through files that's been tokenized upon the needs and the context, but we do also use Power BI server, so having the SaaS solution. And in this context as well, we implemented for very specific reports, very specific cases, the detokenization in Power BI. And it's not only detokenizing the data, but it's also the ability actually to dynamically interact with the data, so we can search, I would say, sensitive data, and it gives us back the data on like we would do in a CRM or in a Google. If I search for Gilles Ducret, then I put that in the Power BI search box, and it gives me back the data from the database. That is where the data is encrypted, but it can then fire up the data in clear. So again, very specific use cases. So if we look at all of this, what it gives us is the ability to make sure that we have, I would say, controlled entry points, and that the data within all the flow, the end-to-end flow, so from, let's say, from CRM down to payment or down to the reporting layer, is completely secure. Is also completely, I would say, no, it's secure end-to-end in the sense that we know exactly the only places where the data is being detokenized. And obviously, we try to reduce it just to make sure that we can focus our control benefiting all the report that REGDATA mentioned earlier, on the very specific integration point where the data is being detokenized. I think that's one of the key advantage. The other one is also from a data lifecycle perspective. So obviously we're talking about live systems, so we capture data, we process data, but I mean, we know as well that we need to apply some data retention policy and purge mechanism. So here again, we do have this central, I would say, repository where we have all of our tokens with the equivalent in clear. So in some cases, it's very useful to change the in clear value of one particular token. So for instance, to anonymize it. So that's what it means. It means that in any system, this data would be anonymized because they only hold the token. And even if this data, this tokenized data, has been sent outside of the bank, that means that this data now has absolutely no meaning. I think it's something I forgot also to say is that yes, indeed, I mean, from a regulatory standpoint or legal standpoint, because the data is tokenized, it's no longer considered to be CID. So we are, from a legal perspective, we are not breaking any Swiss banking secrecy by storing this data outside of the bank, because we do own the value in clear, the equivalent value in clear. What else I can say? So I'm just looking at my notes. So yes, as I mean, I discussed, I mentioned this a little bit, but we still benefit advanced analytics capabilities thanks to this solution. Reduce control points, and I think that's pretty much it. Just quickly. So as I said, so we have. I mean, we are today in live with our CRM system, and we have passed the SAT phases for the core banking system. So we're about to deliver and to be releasing a full Big Bang in the sense that all the Mirabeau entities will be shifting to this solution I just described by the end of the year. 1 minute on REGDATA and the way we work together. So indeed, we've been very much in a collaboration way. So way of working, I would say. So what was very interesting is the level of implication of REGDATA to kind of you've seen it because they partnered with our SaaS vendor. They discussed with them. They made sure that they understand the way the system works to very, very well position the REGDATA components. So it's not just like I will give you software and then provide you some consultancy. It's very, very proactive in the way they make sure that they really spot the right places to apply the tokenization and to make sure that there is no breaches in the protection of the data. And it's even gets better because now, for instance, between REGDATA and WDX, what we've done is we try to expand the service-oriented approach that we had. And we define the principles from what needs to be tokenized, and they do directly ensure that the SaaS solution is compliant with these principles. So they work very, I mean, independently, kind of with the SaaS, I mean, with Climby, with the SaaS vendor. They make sure that they spot for any new release what is to be tokenized or not. And then what we do is we do have obviously a control point that says from governance perspective, yes, okay, this needs to be tokenized, we agree, this should be left in clear and so on. But they kind of do all the work in brackets of analyzing and making sure that the evolutions of the SaaS system is appropriately taken into consideration in the protection. So we're not opening a new breach. that's been very, very useful, very, very convenient for us to rely on such a software vendor or partner. So I think that's very very useful and very important for everybody. I think I'm pretty much there. I speak certainly too much, but I don't know if you have questions. I think you have Q&A, Laurent, now.
Yes, yes. Yeah, thanks a lot, Florian. Is there any questions either for Florian or Gilles? Okay. If not, there's just one more thing I would like to mention. So as we have seen briefly, REGDATA was recently integrated with the key management solution, KMS from Thales, namely CipherTrust. And we will soon be releasing an article on the subject. So stay tuned. The article will be announced on LinkedIn. And yeah, I think that's all. If there is no more questions, then thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Gilles. Thank you, Florian.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Bye bye.
And have a nice day.
And
Have a
you.
nice day, everyone.